Best out!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Nurul, another program on the human rights of Central Asia and actually Eurasia in whole. Nurul, let's talk about the whole situation that is going on and the things that we did. Let's report on everything, if you can.
Good evening to everyone. I guess it's important to mark that we are going to talk about transnational repressions today. It's a part of the portfolio that we are working on, like human rights, basically. We're all human rights activists. In our lives, we devoted time to defend rights of the others. On the other hand, it's important also to depend on somebody who like on the structures, on the systems, on the bigger like groups of people, international structures, who you can actually knock on doors to, with your grievances, with explanation of what's going on. And sometimes we are puzzled. We are puzzled when we are knocking on the door and we get no response. We are just going to talk about facts. We will just talk about what's going on right now, what we can feel on our skin. So in terms of like defending human rights, and it's not a secret, we receive a lot of cases, issues from countries of our origin, from where we came from the neighboring countries, mainly those with the dictatorships or the legacy of the dictatorship, like Kazakhstan. There are different forms of pressures that are exerted on civic activists or those who try to voice their opinion about certain issues they disagree on, and it takes different forms. It can be, grabbing on the streets, putting behind the bars, beatings on the streets, killings in the worst case scenario, moral pressures like writing bad articles, negative campaign against the targets. We can go into details. I mean, I'm just giving general overview. We can get into different details. And these are the cases that we come across. When we talk about transnational repression, this is something that authorities are doing remotely. So if, for example, activists, politicians flee the country and landed somewhere abroad and still continues to be active, or maybe leaves a trail behind or legacy behind himself, and still communicates with his group, or maybe just not even being active. But the fact that he exists somewhere really pains authorities and motivates civil activists to hold alternative opinion. So the point is transnational repressions. It's exertion of pressures remotely. These pressures can be exerted on the relatives of the person. It's like, they intimidate relatives. We can give you different cases later, as I mentioned, if we go deeply into this. And I myself personally was subject to this transnational repression. I can also talk about it later. But since we want to give a general picture, I will just right now speak general. So this is what we mean under transnational repression. Now, yesterday we attended hearings in U.S. Congress in one of the commissions, which is called actually Tom Lanna's Human Rights Commission, where voices of subjects who fall under the transnational repression will be heard by members of Congress. And we visited that hearings. Again, we can discuss in the details. You can ask questions. We can discuss about the issues that has taken place. Our reception, how we feel about attending those hearings. So this is generally to kick off the discussion, today's discussion, in a nutshell. Okay.
I want to share my shirt first of all. Yeah, we are still reporting and always will support Ukraine, all of our countries.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we were actually present on the advocacy days 2 weeks ago, I think, right? That's when it happened. We visited all the senators, the congressmen, and everyone. We tried to meet with them too for Ukraine, but also we brought up the issue of the fact, for example, on Turkmenistan, Turkmenistan is violating all the rules, all the laws by not standing for Turkmen citizens, by not protecting the Turkmen citizens, and by bringing these Turkmen citizens by loads in the Turkmen Airlines. Actually, I know of the recruiting campaign that was going on in Turkmenistan. Even last year it started. Even my own cousin was in it, and I know the whole information how it happened. And Turkmenistan was actually the one facilitating it, basically. So they brought them to Russia last year. They started bringing them to Russia last year. And I was taken by surprise. I was like, what are you doing? What is going on? Of course, my cousin could not tell me much of the information. So, because, but then later on this year, we started finding out that lots of Turkmens were recruited by the Russian government for the war of their own against Ukraine. And these Turkmens did not even know what they were signing. They were coerced. They were threatened. If they will not sign the documents, the contracts, then they will basically find drugs on them. So these Turkmens didn't have any opportunity to even say no or leave. And Turkmenistan is the one that was facilitating it, basically bringing these Turkmens there, not protecting the Turkmen citizens. And I'm going to include in this video of ours the list of the Turkmens that are officially, I guess now, in the Russian army, and also those who actually died too. So there's many Turkmens, dozens of Turkmens that died also. So Russia is killing not only Ukrainians, Russia is killing everyone. I think Kazakhs are gone too, right? Nurul, as I know, Kazakhs were recruited and taken and died in numbers, many numbers.
Kazakhs were recruited, but it's mainly the Kazakhs who leave, not Kazakh citizens, Kazakhs who live inside Russia.
So these,
ethnicity, minorities, as they call them. But on the other hand, we have situation also Kazakhs who are actually recruited and on their own will going to fight. But we're prosecuting those. It's unacceptable. And I agree with the government of Kazakhstan. They should be prosecuted if they caught doing that. Right. They should be put in prison when they return back, and it's a punishment. They should be punished for fighting for Russia.
Okay, so your situation is different. Turkmen situation is totally different. Yeah. They are actually threatening them, and they basically threatening them to put them in jail for drug trafficking.
Yeah, okay.
And basically, Turkmens are already scared from their own government. So it's really easy to coerce them into doing things, and they don't understand the language that well too. Russia is right next to Kazakhstan, so you guys still preserve the language still. You can understand, but Turkmens mostly don't know Russian anymore. So yeah, the ones that are even going to Russia, they don't know the Russian much anymore. Anyway, so I wanted to add on that because I think that should be also on the sanctions list somehow too. We should bring them in. Yeah.
By all means.
I wanted to add here that in Turkmenistan there's a shortage or deficit of oil and gas in Turkmenistan. And this has been going on and off through a couple years. I'm thinking there is some kind of an invasion going on too, and providing it and actually transporting it to Russia, providing it to Russia. So there's a lot of things that Turkmenistan is doing. Same thing, it's meeting with Iran a lot and
Yeah.
providing Iran with its own whatever Iran needs, basically, with its assistance and stuff. And
Yeah.
just recently, I think it was yesterday, Medvedev came to Turkmenistan. So there's a lot going on, Nurul. We need to really discuss and get into it. And basically, also, we started already meeting with the congressmen and congresswomen or representatives and bringing our issues too. And I think we do need to work on this subject very hard, especially the transnational repressions too. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Let's
I've
talk
already
about it. Yeah.
noticed, yes, I've already know, and I'm gonna go into that actually, if you don't mind. I've already noticed that even because Kazakh embassy personnel was subtly, like in a smooth way, trying to threaten you when they mentioned about your child's wedding. That I take as a threat personally. I
Right.
would take it as a threat because if a person from the embassy, an official person they've been persecuting your family for years now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was so much going on. They even came to your house. They threatened them, everything. They tried to put your dad in jail. Just too many things. And then just recently, when we came across them, they asked you about your daughter. And that's just unacceptable, especially on our US soil. That is a transnational repression. That's how it
You
starts,
all
the
you
threatening.
all you
Threatening.
all said it. I mean,
Mhm.
because I have nothing to add, only
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah.
And what can I say? I mean, it's exactly the way of pressuring on a distance, like I said, remotely. So what they want to do is to silence, to stop my activity, because they think whatever I'm doing it's hurting the authority. But obviously, what we do is we do for the good of the country, and it is questionable who is actually hurting authorities more. For example, I'm working on promoting, independence of Kazakhstan. Uh, introducing laws, legal mechanisms, uh, coming out of the bad unions with Russia, which do not benefit Kazakhstan. So actually exposing Kazakhstan more to the world. So Kazakhstan cooperates more with the West. I'm talking about now bringing more opportunities to the Kazakhstan, which make Kazakhstan independent, like investment into the vast resources Kazakhstan have, like rare earth minerals, uranium, strategic or like critical resources, as people call them right now. So that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not doing anything bad, and I'm promoting the country's cooperation for the good of both nations, for America in Kazakhstan, and other countries as well. Because I mean, when we talk about sanctions, of course I have to report if Kazakhstan is violating sanctions. Then it means government has to do a better job of watching after the people who are trying to help Russians to evade sanctions. If they turn a blind eye on this, then it means they're with Russians. So that is the cause of why people aren't happy with me. In addition to my historical work against Nazarbayev many years, I was always trying to build like democratic institutions in the country, which undermine authoritarian regime in the country, which threatens authoritarian regime, which gives people power and ability to influence decision making. And all decision making, as we know, till the day was about stealing people's money, which is why they are rich now, which is why they are able to buy lawyers, they are able to buy politicians abroad. There are a lot of cases where government bribes famous politicians. There was a case, you remember, Nazarbayev attracted Tony Blair, like I mean, for his consultancy, even though Tony Blair now says he regrets for doing that. Still, their lobbies are all over the place. And you yourself, you yesterday had an opportunity to witness how the people with the like smiling face would be saying, "Oh, I have problems. My client or whoever is I'm working with, like human rights person, is prosecuted by authorities, and we spent $1 million for lawyers. Come on, how? I mean, I don't dream like even having 100,000 to be spent on legal stuff, you know.
And it's immigration lawyer.
Many of us try to find friends and pro bono lawyers, you know, or sometimes try to find the cheaper way solution. But there sits a person who says like, I spent millions of dollars and nothing. It's of course, I mean, it will not work if there's a political decision against you, and it often comes from the personal, how do I say, quarreling at the top. Like let's say Nazarbayev and Ablazov. We know that both of them are thieves. They work together. They both robbed the country. So now all of a sudden, when Ablazov fell off the Nazarbayev's surrounding, closest surrounding, and ability to be close to Nazarbayev, he fell out. He wanted probably more. He grew out of his sizes. He decided to have more, and then of course Nazarbayev cut it short, and then he became opposition, and that's the opposition we are dealing nowadays with. They are not real opposition. They are the people who had problems with authorities, but they are not supported by the people. Now these people, opposition like this, go to the West and cry their tears in front of the foreign politicians and say that we are the real opposition. We've been prosecuted in our country. Ah la la la la, and then they demand defending their rights. From the personal point of view, I don't differentiate. I agree, and their rights should be defended. But then they try to take the whole space, and they say they are the only one. They are the only opposition there who cares about the people. Whoever is approaching, and another people is approaching, they are working for the government, and they are the only opposition. It doesn't work like this in life. If you have an alternative opinion against government, you are an opposition. If you're doing something active against government, you are in opposition. And it's not like God-given right for you to be opposition, and then you're God in opposition and you're controlling everything. That is why I had an idea, and I shared with you earlier, that if ever West is working with countries with the developing democracies, it should be a requirement to actually have investment into institutional opposition. It's not working with individuals, it's working with the institutions of opposition. Like, I don't know, like what example could I bring? Like maybe working on something like House of Democracy, where where all oppositions can be present, have their offices, something like this. I don't know. It's just a random idea that comes into my mind. But the work should be done with institutions. Stop working with individual leaders. You're creating another dictators. If even these people successfully end up overthrowing the government, do you think they will be ever different? They will not be. They will be the same dragons who are actually sucking blood out of the people. So what I'm vouching for is actually to build a work with institutional opposition. So this is example that we exactly saw with you yesterday, and you can probably share your opinion. I don't mean to actually take all time, talking here. You can share your opinion as well. What did you see yesterday?
Well, I'm gonna actually finish my own that I was talking about. I was talking about the repressions as is on us, first of all. And, we mentioned about you, but also I was also threatened. through email, a number of emails. And then even before I was threatened in 2020 and 21, when my very first activist was taken from Russia, I was threatened over the WhatsApp and Telegram by the Turkmen security. It's called Mahame, Turkmen security officers. Then, that whole thing went by. But then when we just did this whole big case for Umida Bigjanova, you remember Umida Bigjanova, we just saved her from deportation, all of us together. We were able to get human rights, State Department, and even UNHCR, everyone on board with us to be able to stop Umida's illegal deportation. That was a grand job that we did. We just organized and mobilized it really fast, and I'm so grateful to everyone for that, and especially you guys too. You helped with working with a journalist, Miria Vasco, and everyone done a really wonderful, grand job, basically. Thank you so much, first of all. But right then, while we were doing all of that job, I started getting emails, and I got a number of emails with my, information on it. I'm not gonna go in details in that, but basically that is a threat also. So, and it's in US. Now it has come to US, and two of our other dissidents from Turkmenistan were attacked too. One was attacked violently. The other one was pursued by someone to find his address, to fetch his address and stuff. So yeah, it's happening, and we do need to think about the means of stopping that, because Turkmen, Kazakh, all of our countries are under Putin's regime, basically. Especially Turkmenistan. Both of the dictators were put there by Putin. So every work is done by also not only by the Turkmen or Kazakh, but also by the FSB and GUR, all of those services too. Regarding our the hearing that we went to, you mentioned Ablazov. Ablazov has interfered fiercely, really aggressively into our own opposition activities in 2020, if you remember. And I couldn't understand what was going on at first. But if you remember, he basically brought in coercive methods also. He brought in this guy who was collecting the passports, Turkmen passports.
Yeah.
All that information ended up in the hands of the Turkmen Mahkeme, again, Turkmen services.
Yeah.
And then Turkey is now basically aggressively, due to their actions, Turkey is aggressively now persecuting Turkmen dissidents or Turkmen activists in Turkey. And like the case of Umida, and then there's Alisher Sakhatov, there is Abdullah Orusov.
Şimdi bakın, Türkmenistan'da demokrasinin olmadığını cümle alem biliyor ve Türkiye Türkmenistan'daki muhalifleri Türkmenistan'a iade etmek için geri gönderme merkezine alıyor. İki Türkmen siyasi aktivist Abdullah Orusov ve Alisher Sakhatov gözaltına alınmış, geri gönderme merkezine alınmış. Bu kişilerin Türkmenistan'a iadesi halinde hayati tehlike var ve bir an evvel bunun durması gerekiyor.
There was Juma Sapar Turkmen, Juma Sapar Dadabayev. He was the Karakalpak Turkmen. So even Uzbekistan took part in this, in basically kidnapping him. It was the MIT. They drugged him, and then he was unconscious, and then he woke up in Uzbekistan, and he was sentenced to 13 years of prison. And right now, just on yesterday's hearings, one of the Karakalpak activists came up to us, if you remember, and told us that Juma Sapar is in dire danger right now, and his health is very low, his health is very weak, and he needs urgent assistance, basically.
Care, yeah. Understood, yeah.
So yes, regarding the not only Ablazov, but also there was a Brazilian person who was trying to, like you said, he said that he spent $1 million on immigration lawyers. How can you
Yeah.
spend $1 million? And he was going on and on and on about the businesses and these kind of stuff. It seems like everyone that is getting the hearing in front of the congressman are portraying themselves as opposition. But in
Exactly.
reality, to me, these people were not at all in danger. They were
Exactly.
themselves the system. Just like the guy that Ablazov brought for Turkmen
Yeah.
opposition, he was working in the system. He was getting all of the projects, all of the contracts. He was
Right.
the person of the vice president of Turkmenistan. He was his person when Niyazov was there. So I don't see any opposition here. These are only the people that are the vultures, I will call them, the vultures that are trying to get money. So I'm thinking Ablazov was interested in overthrowing the government by military ways and then basically taking into his control the Turkmen oil and gas too. I mean, we don't need another dictator, and we don't need someone who is from another country
Yeah.
that's meddling totally in
Mm-hmm.
our country, and that is Ablazov should be arrested just even for that,
Yeah.
basically. He's
Yeah, I agree.
the guilty one for so many lives being lost, the Turkmen lives, because those passport information that was collected by his person ended up in the hands of the Turkmen services. Yeah,
This is the thing. I'm sorry to cut through.
they're
Uh,
dangerous.
this is this is the thing with nowadays leaders and Ablazov in particular, because usually first leaders should raise the flag and lead people somewhere, and be in front and be on the barricade. Uh, of course, then you will be able to achieve something. The role that these backdoor leaders play is they sit somewhere and they put people in danger by, provoking them to go and attack authorities without providing a proper support. But when they have problems, they start asking money from people like Ablazov, which he should be ashamed of himself. He stole several billions of dollars from Kazakhstan, and now he wants to collect money from people to defend his case. And I'm telling you what he's trying to do. He's trying to get support of uh, because he's really seriously prosecuted now in Europe. He's trying to get support from US. Basically to if he's kicked out by Europe, maybe US can support him. And he's not directly yet speaking about himself. We didn't hear like uh, his name. His defender Ludmila Kozlovskaya was talking about his right hand Barlik Mendegaziv, who is also a former businessman, and all of a sudden he's now a citizen. He was announced as a U.S. citizen, and that they were bringing a case of like him being prosecuted in United States, not prosecuted, but followed by strange agents. First of all, I think it's a made-up story. Second, I think uh, it's very questionable how he became a U.S. citizen. Because I know that he hasn't yet spent the necessary amount of years here in the country to become a citizen, or they are just misrepresenting facts. What I want to also to do is to urge actually the commission, and I know it's not their fault for not like being very inclusive, is to actually I agree if they're persecuted, whether they're thieves, whether they're something, but their rights should be defended like everybody's else rights. But then the process should be inclusive. It should include all the cases that has taken place. Not of course millions of cases, but at least be objective about covering certain country. Otherwise, you end up getting a problem with this country too. With the residents of that country, they will be unhappy. That creates tension and bad impression about the country in general. Same happened with Europe, and I don't want United States to step on the same, on the same problem. So, in order to avoid that, there's a need for doing due diligence before actually holding hearings like that, which means you have to actually investigate more into the issues. Who are you talking to? At least don't be lazy, just scroll internet and find out who are you talking to. And we know all that, this Ablazov's team is totally involved with Russian. And they're trying now to cover up. But speak to Ukrainians. You get an opinion who they are. Their relatives are in Russia and blah, blah, blah. Ablazov had business in Russia. So from the human rights point of view, I believe that everybody's rights should be defended. But it also, disappoints me when everybody who is considered to be independent person is not included in the process. So it's like they are heard at the international levels. The others don't have the right to speak at the mic. It's not a democracy. It's not a freedom of speech. So that's what, if you understand, that's the corner I'm coming from.
I think it's called misrepresentation.
Yeah,
I agree
definitely.
that everyone should be protected. I agree everyone has the right to be,
Mhm.
because there are lots of Turkmen officials that have been in the system, they got in jail, and we all stood up for them too. But at the same time, misrepresentation in US in front of the Congress by these shady figures is a wrong approach. Just like, what happened to USAID. Why did this whole thing happen? I mean, I personally, and even you, we know that some of them, especially the locals, have done so many shady deals in the
Yeah,
name of
absolutely,
USAID, or
absolutely.
same thing these
I
figures.
have really dual opinion about closure of
Yeah.
USAID.
I mean,
If
I
it wouldn't
support
have been closed,
USAID.
it wouldn't have been closed. It would have been better to do the cleaning inside USAID, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it needs the credibility check and all that stuff. They need to do a better job of, I'm not saying that locals are corrupt, but they really need to do a better job of
Auditing.
okay. Yes, they need to do a better job of auditing, because, there are many cases of local people, even in Turkmenistan, in Kazakhstan, I saw it. I saw it in other countries too that I lived. USA is kind of, there are some schemes that are seeped through with the corruption scheme. So I think, Nurul, we also should concentrate on the anti-corruption side of our countries too, because there is a lot of work to be done on that side, I think. By the way, I would like to add again about Ablazov. He is
Mhm.
also at fault. Like I said, my first activist that was taken in Russia, his name is Azat Isakov, and somehow he's not being at all named by the
Mhm.
international organizations. And this really enrages me, because he was the one drugged in Russia, and Russia's FSB and GRU helped kidnap him. And within 2 days, they gave him to the hands of Turkmen diplomatic services, and they basically kidnapped him from Russia. And I know how it happened. They took him. There was a court. I have the court papers. And then he asked for a lawyer. They never provided him a lawyer. The judge told him that he broke the migration, even though he was protected by the UNHCR at that point. He was going through the process. But
Yeah.
then the judge said he needs to leave within 10 days and then pay the fine. And so they let him go. As soon as he came out, the other services, the Turkmen services, drugged him. I even have the car, the color of the car, and all
Mhm.
that stuff. And I know that they shackled him and quickly took him on the plane to Ilebap area. So that's what happened with Azat
Mhm.
Isakov. And no one talks about him. This is what happened in Russia in 2021. And Ablazov and his people, they harassed him. They harassed Azat, and his person, Murat Kurbanov, said, if we want to, we can have Azat Isakov caught and deport him within 2 days. I know it's not his doing. I know it's Maksat Saparmuradov. I know it's Allah Murad Rahimov. I know it's the Rashid Miryadov and the Turkmen embassy and Russian FSB and GOR. But at the same time, the harassment has taken place, and it was Ablazov's people. There we go. There's Kazakhstan Ablazov.
And again, I should also reinforce that we are not like really trying to say bad things about let them the opposition, let them do their stuff. What we're trying to say is that there should be a due diligence process, and everybody should be included. And that's why we addressed Congress as well. We made a statement, which Chema will let you know about. So that we also approached them and said that we have cases like that. Please be included next time. Okay, so that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about today.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
We'll continue on the transnational repressions. We'll do the anti-corruption. We'll do the
Yeah.
human rights, everything,
Yeah.
sanctions, all of that.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, Nurul.
Путин хочет быть опасным, но не получается. Как НАТО расширяется, у Путина сужается.